When it rained, a lot of soil got swept by the floods, then taken down to the river, which definitely and finally moved it down to the Lake Victoria. So good part of our fertile soil evaded our control for farming, and we ended up with very infertile soil for crop growing and animal keeping. That in association came the disappearance of the riparian, the water towers and the watershed, which altogether was in accompaniment with the bad human behavior, that is deforestation. A lot more trees were cut indiscriminately for the exercises of some being social and others being commercial. Many people were unemployed. So they relied on the natural resources for exploitation to commercialize their lives so that they could sustain their subsistence at their households. As we continue building our ornamental houses, clearing vegetation, harvesting sand and soil to put up beautiful houses for us, we left the land and environment to abject poverty. I realized one thing, that nature was the most beautiful gift God gave to man. The only different aspect of it that man played as a role was nothing other than catastrophic destruction. So generally, even as we talk about the climate change effect, the introduction and culmination of this process is us. But to me, I thought it otherwise, that such bad tracks could be restored, reclaimed for proper regeneration to expand the compound and area of crop growing and animal keeping. So the Andege Food and Environment Development Project is there to ensure restoration of ecosystem that would move in also inviting the solidification, the consolidation, compactment, and engineering process of addressing the issue of climate change. So this is why I had to look for the very bad lands to reclaim them, plant trees on them, grow crops like sugarcane, mangoes, oranges, banana, and all sorts as a process of integration. People would not have imagined it possible to reclaim such derelicts into a proper agricultural disposition. The climate change adaptation cannot be as successful as people may think in the absence of the integrated farming practices. So the integrated approach as it is here would really create a bulwark, a barrier, a buffer zone, where the farmer at that time when he may want to cut a tree, he has oranges to take to the market.
The farm is integrated with different kind of plantations. We do not use chemicals, and this has really done as a great advantage because the insects and even birds are able to stay within this surrounding because the strong stink of the chemicals, they can't feel it. But the natural spraying of the fruits has enabled them to stay within this environment. So we are not endangering their lives. We are encouraging them to stay. We are giving them an opportunity to live. We are not killing them. because when you use chemicals, even the bees will not be able to stay around the farm. And these bees are the ones that do pollination, transferring the pollen grains from one plant to the other. And this encourages a lot of production within the farm. Those chemicals are endangering our lives. People just don't know when the chemicals spray on your skin, you are able to be affected by even cancer, a chest problem, the throat problem, and inhaling dangerous chemicals.
I transformed this place from a badland, from a derelict, into a commercial facility that generates an income. Apart from that, a water body for irrigation that we pick water from and irrigate our crops to sustain as well the vegetation across both exotic and indigenous to uphold the platform of climate effects. In the event that drought strikes, and now we have volumes in terms of million metric water disposition at our disposal for usage in the form of irrigation, we are set to move in the direction of crop growing and establishing a good content of livelihood, while at the same time maintaining fauna and flora that are also the basics of climate programs. When there is drought, you need to control the amount of moisture that leaves the crop area so that you don't as well spend more even if you are doing irrigation. So how would you get your crops mulched if every time now and again you have to weed out all the vegetation? So when they drop down and we collect them as mulch around the crop area, as they continue to decompose, they inculcate this fertility for crop consumption. So in the matter of climate change, we should address our relationships with things that are not in conflict with the kind of climate patterns, like using a lot of plastics on our farms, like cutting of the trees that we have talked about, like burning of our farms when we want to cultivate the land. These are condemned practices because they are going to escalate the bad consequences of climate change. We must plant a lot of fruits on our farms, a lot of trees that will act as agents of inculcating nutrients into the soil, like Lucina leucocephala, Calyandria, and the rest, sustaining and allowing the regeneration of indigenous vegetation that can easily grow when not tampered with, so that they can bring in the sciences of nature and recreating this earth planet afresh. I would at the same time want farmers to try and avoid as much as possible the usage of chemical fertilizers in their farms and try to adopt the appropriate technologies of using the organic materials